A woman in Scotland is being charged with a hate crime and threatened with jail time because she made a few offensive social media posts. This is pretty insane, in my opinion. And this is also where we're headed in America if Democrats continue to try and push these hate speech laws. Just because something is offensive and you don't like it does not mean it should be illegal, and especially not result in jail time. So let's read this story and find out what's happening. So her name is Marion Millar, and she allegedly posted homophobic and transphobic material on social media. And she's being charged under the Malicious Communications Act for tweets that she made in 2019 and 2020, and as a result, could face 2 years in jail if she is convicted. Now, before we do go any further, it's important to note that we don't actually know what she said specifically. We can only speculate. I would argue that it's not anything that bad, or else she would be charged with something more severe. So, for example, she's not inciting violence, saying that we should attack gay people or trans people, because then she'd be charged with something a heck of a lot worse. It seems to me that she's saying something that they don't like, that can be viewed as homophobic or transphobic, and that's enough to warrant jail time. The problem here is that almost no matter what you say, if someone doesn't like it, they could claim that it's transphobic or homophobic, and then that's it. You could be charged with a hate crime, apparently. Now, this woman is a supporter of sex-based rights for women, so she's a feminist, but she also opposes simplifying transgender self-identification. So people who believe these similar ideas, like J.K. Rowling, they are viewed as trans-exclusionary radical feminists, or TERFs. So like J.K. Rowling, the tweets probably talked about how trans women entering exclusively women's spaces is dangerous to the feminist movement, or how trans women are not biological women, there is a difference, things like that. Things that I don't think should be really that controversial, but they are, and they're considered transphobic. Apparently, they're transphobic enough to get someone threatened with jail time. After this came out, she tweeted and said, "I have been charged. I am absolutely gutted. I can't describe in words the stress this is causing me." And while I was reading that story, I came across another one which once again shows that Scotland is kind of doing something wrong when it comes to free speech. So the police in one area of Scotland put out this social media post where they're talking about this controversial sticker. Now, if you can't see it, it says "women won't weesht," which based on my very limited research seems to mean that women won't be silent or they won't be quiet. So it's another feminist movement slogan or something like that in Scotland. And this post made it seem like this was the worst sticker that has ever existed in the history of humanity. That it's so controversial, you need to call the cops if you see one so they can come and publicly dispose of it. That sticker seems to be kind of akin to hate speech, apparently. And this is what's happening when we allow people to get away with nonsense like pretending they're offended by literally every small thing. Now, in America, there are plenty of examples of this, but the one that first comes to mind recently was Demi Lovato, who was so triggered by a frozen yogurt shop because they had sugar-free cookies that she took to social media to complain about it and to call out specifically the frozen yogurt shop she went to. Now, obviously, someone complaining about sugar-free cookies is not as severe as someone getting locked up for social media posts. But I do honestly believe that these two things go hand in hand. We are living in a society today where literally everything can be offensive. Sugar-free cookies can be offensive. And if they can be offensive, then anything can. And if it's too offensive, if you can't handle life living in this offensive world, then you are going to demand that someone make it more palatable to you. That's where the government comes in. If you don't want to go on social media and see people talking about how trans women are not biological women, then maybe you turn to the government and say, hey, you need to impose some restrictions on these people. And that seems to be what happened in Scotland and what's happening in a lot of places in Europe. Thankfully, in America, we're not quite that far yet. But again, Democrats are continually pushing for hate speech laws. They say that hate speech is not free speech, that hate speech is literally violence and it's killing people. And if you truly believe that, then it's really not that far of a stretch to then have the government impose restrictions and lock people up for saying things offensive on social media. And it is a little bit ironic to me that the party that is all about decriminalizing people and getting rid of the school to prison pipeline, all of that stuff, they are also in favor of creating more laws to criminalize people for speech. In my mind, those two things don't really go together. So it is a little bit ironic to me. Anyway, I don't know if I have any viewers in Scotland, but if I do, and you can shed more light on this situation or just your opinion, well, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below what you think about all of this. And more importantly, what does wisht actually mean? Because I looked it up and I think it means like don't be silent and stuff, but I could be completely wrong. So if you know, let me know. And if it's an offensive slur, I apologize because I have no idea. Hopefully YouTube doesn't take it out on me. Speaking of which, because of the content that I talked about in this video, it's very likely YouTube won't promote it. So I'd really appreciate you leaving a like, leaving a comment, and sharing this video on social media or with someone specifically. If you know of someone who is in favor of hate speech laws, well, maybe share them this video with this story and see if that's what they really want to happen in America. Probably not. A lot of people don't entirely understand what hate speech laws would entail, so maybe you can change their mind. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.